Welcome, my beautiful friends. I'm so excited to be back today. We're going to be talking about flow state secrets for longevity and also how to attract miracles. I actually am going to give you a little update from our session last week when we were talking about the 22 days to abundance, flow, and miracles. And it's a very interesting thing because I put it out there to everyone. Oh, hold on. I think I streamed this to... Wait a minute. I basically put it out there to everyone in our community, like this kind of goals that I have and that I'm working on manifesting, and like the strategy that I'm doing, especially for the 22 days to abundance, flow, and miracles, and also for the next 2 months just to finish the month strong. So for me, that's really what we're working on, is finishing the month and the year strong, and then also preparing for 2023. Now, some people are like, I like to just live in the moment, which I do too. I'm all about living in the moment, but I'm also about like seeing your dream future and like manifesting it and creating that beautiful life for yourself. And in order to do that, you have to also work with like timelines, right? So timelines, it's when you're looking to the future and being very present and proactive in the now. So it's kind of a beautiful way to live. Like another way, you know, I've lived this way in the past where it was like, I'm just living in the now and I'm not going to think about the future. And that's good for a little while. But if you really want to create something beautiful for yourself, you got to set yourself up to win. And so, especially, it's funny, actually this weekend, I got to go to this really great immersion, like a workshop all about speaking and the importance of learning skills like how to communicate, not just how to communicate with other people, but how to communicate to a large group and different strategies and techniques for that. And it's a whole science in and of itself. And it really helped me to remember how important it is to continuously be learning new skills. Even if you think you're already great at something, we can always improve. And so, you know, actually I read somewhere one time, it said, yoga is not about self-improvement, it's about self-acceptance. Which there is that aspect about it too. You want to accept yourself as you are, like not beat yourself up like, oh, I'm terrible at all these things and I'm horrible, and like that's not what we want. We want to accept ourselves as we are, love ourselves as we are, and continuously be in a process of growing, evolving, healing, improving. I saw someone just today, they were talking about how there's like this saying that people never change. Leave a comment if you've ever heard that. Like, people never change. So, you know, let's say somebody has this like bad behavior and then you're like, yeah, well, hopefully they'll change. And then someone will say like, people never change. That's not true. People can change, but only if they want to. And that's the key. Feel free to share, post in the comments, or even unmute yourself if you're in the Zoom session and let us know if you have an experience of that where you knew there was something inside of you that needed to change and you decided, I want to change, and then you made that change, right? I think we've all had that experience. And so it's important to think about that, especially when you're going through a yoga teacher training immersion and you're learning how to not only do these practices, learn these techniques, and then how to share them with others so that you can help them, but also keeping in mind that everybody is the same in this one regard. Everybody is in a process of continuous evolution, growing, healing, evolving, and change, right? So the more that we realize that, I feel the more we can have success in whatever capacity that you're aiming for, right? So whether it's in your own life, in changing behaviors, habits, circumstances for yourself, and or for others as a coach. And the really interesting thing about being a teacher or a coach is that as you apply these things to yourself, the tendency is that it starts to make sense how you can help others through the same kind of thing. So often, you know, they say practice what you preach. So often a lot of people, you know, you might learn something in a book and then they go and teach it. I feel the opposite. I think that people should have real world experience. And oftentimes I also believe that that's what brings people to something like yoga or a yoga teacher training or an immersion to become a coach or a healer or even just a retreat. Like that there's this aspect within us that we know that there's more, right? There's more that I can grow, there's more that I can learn, and in that experience I am going to be fulfilling my purpose of being alive on this planet, right? You guys feel that same way? I think that it's important to always come back to the fundamentals of this understanding, because then once you realize we're here to evolve, we're here to grow, everything's always changing, and that's the same for all of us, you can have more authentic connection with your clients because you realize, okay, where are you right now and where do you want to be? And that was the interesting thing in this training that I went to, and it was talking about people want to go from they want to go from where they are to like this better place, right? Whatever that is, whether it's like losing weight or like healing themselves in some way, releasing pain from their life, or just activating a higher level of their dream life, the vision that they have for their life, matching the reality of their life. Like all of that is a spectrum of what people are looking for. And then instead of thinking they want to go from A to Z, which is like where they are right now, let's say someone's like depressed and in pain, and then they want to go to Z, which is like joyous, blissful enlightenment, like that's kind of a stretch. So instead, you want to go from A to B. Like if you're in depression and having like pain, you want to just get out of pain, right? And start to have hope. So within the training that we have here at Flow State Institute, we oftentimes refer to the emotional tone scale. And I'm going to pull that up for us all so you can all see it. And the emotional tone scale, and by the way, it's 11:11, so we say a quick prayer for humanity, for the healing of humanity, for all beings on this planet, especially for Mother Earth, who is undergoing so much turbulence right now with the climate crisis. And I just want to send love to all the beings that have been affected by that, especially in Belize, who recently lost their homes in the hurricane, and everybody worldwide, in Ukraine, the people in the war. I mean, right now we're at such a turbulent and intense time on Earth, and I just feel that you all of us are here to hold space with loving compassion, to keep the vibration high, to help people through these difficult times. It's not always going to be the hard times, but like this is. And when the world is going through the darkest moments, that's when the healers, are like really living on purpose the most. This is when you have your time to really step into your power and shine your light and be a leader on the planet, because the planet needs your light, needs your love, your healing, your expertise, your skills now more than ever. The climate crisis is just one crisis on the planet. We have the worst crisis, I think, is the mental health crisis. I mean, we have literally billions of people on the planet that are depressed, addicted to drugs and alcohol, or suicidal, or just dealing with just really difficult things. So that's where we fit in more than, let's say, solving the climate crisis. Although I like to pray for humanity and the planet whenever I get a chance. But our true purpose through Flow State Institute is really dealing with the humans, and working with that element, especially the physical and mental wellness and health. And one of the things that I learned over the course of my career, and I really feel so grateful about this, and I hope that you guys can feel this too, is what a blessing it is to be that if this is your dharma, if it's your dharma or your life purpose to bring healing and love to the world, it's such a gift, because it's a very beautiful, blissful, and rewarding path. It's not like your dharma is to, like, I have a good friend that his dharma is actually to go and bring relief aid to the victims of these tragedies, which, obviously that's a beautiful thing, right? It's like wonderful, it's super important, but I would not want that to be my purpose of life. I mean, it's very difficult. I've went with him on a number of these missions where they bring like all this stuff to people that are homeless. They lost their homes in the fire, in the hurricane, in the flood, and it's tragedy, always being immersed in tragedy. Whereas we are a little bit more on the what I love to do is help people on the proactive side, like before there's a tragedy, before they have a total collapse, that you can help them to build healthy habits and to catch things in the early stages before it gets too bad. Like if they're just starting to feel bad, it's a perfect time to catch it, versus once they've already collapsed and want to kill themselves. So we can find people wherever we find them, but ultimately if you catch somebody early enough, you can really help them in their difficulties without them having to spiral all the way to rock bottom. Although I will say I've been to rock bottom multiple times, and I think that being at rock bottom isn't the worst thing. At the time it feels like the worst thing, but realistically, very often on the soul level, it's the best thing. You need to hit rock bottom sometimes in order to wake up fully. A lot of times we wake up halfway in the spiritual path. You have something happen and you're like, oh, and that jars you a little bit awake, but then you can go back to sleep and go back into your old patterns and your old life. And it's interesting because the way that the soul journey is created by God is that sometimes you have to hit rock bottom, which means like you want to die basically, and then you look up. And actually one of my favorite quotes by Les Brown. Les Brown is a very famous motivational speaker, and he said, if you can look up, you can get up. And I always thought about that, so many times, like if I was on my knees and I was like literally like praying on my knees to God, and I said, give me some help here. And just the idea that being there in that hard place, it's an awakening, and that's usually when major changes take place. You don't want to stay the same anymore. You're not even like, it's not even possible to stay the same if you want to heal, if you want to feel better. And so that's when major changes start to take place, whether it's internal changes, which are usually like the biggest changes, like how I see the world, how I see myself, how I interact with others, or can also be like just choosing like to cut certain things off, people off. Like I remember one time, just as an example of that, I mean many times I had rock bottom, but one time I was so burned out. I had gotten so burned out because I was just pushing myself so hard. I did 5 yoga teacher trainings in 1 year, led them myself, and I was working so much, and it's like 12-hour days and 30 days at a time is what we used to do. And I was so burned out, and I was guided to go back to Bali actually, and I went to Bali, and when I got to Bali, I literally got in bed and I collapsed and I couldn't get out of bed, and I was just like sick for a week, and I was so exhausted that it had brought my immune way down, and I got a respiratory sickness, and I was just in bed. I had a fever. I went through this whole sickness. And it was such a blessing in disguise, because what it did, it showed me that was not a healthy level of work, right? And right now on the planet, there is literally a huge, and especially for those of you, Stacy and Jopiel, those of you who are working in the hospitals, but many industries. I know Madison, you are also in the schools and stuff. A lot of industries are in a crisis of burnout. And people, they kind of just mention it like, it's almost like, oh, mental health crisis, burnout, and they make it sound like it's kind of no big deal. But it's literally like the hugest thing. Like if people are burned out, what happens is the mind doesn't work properly. Then they become emotionally toxic because they become very easily triggered, very easily upset, angry, like short fuse, right? Because when you're burned out, like your whole nervous system is fried. And so what's happening on the planet, and we'll just talk about America right now, but especially in America, in the school systems and also in the hospitals, a lot of people, especially coming out of COVID, but I think just it was building on itself for a long time. It was not just like COVID that caused this. It was just COVID that exposed the depth of how difficult it is. But basically that it's called I would call it a burnout crisis, but people are not really calling it that as much, but I've seen it called that in different ways. And so that's a good opportunity for us, right? So it sounds like morbid, like, oh, good. it's not good, but it's like an opportunity because there's a lot of people that need healing. Now, I've been thinking about this because I had burnout a few times in my life, like really, really bad. Leave a comment if any of you have ever had burnout, like really bad, where you were like, I want to die, like I'm so tired, I'm so burned out. And then, you know, we can have a little conversation about that if you want to even share. You can unmute yourself. But basically the idea that, you know, if you feel called to help people through that, that's a huge opportunity in the planet right now where there's a lot of people that need help with that. Let's see. Carolina says, I did a lot of changes in my life, starting with my behavior, habits, negative patterns. I'm still working on me. I enjoy a lot to listen and learn. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Goddess. Yeah, that's really what we're all here about, you know. Let's see. Jamie said, good morning. So it's 12 a.m. now in Australia with the daylight savings. Oh, you guys don't have the daylight savings. Oh, man. Thank you for joining us at such an hour. Madison said, definitely throughout my master's program last year brought me here. Oh, wow. You know, it's like such a blessing. Like just like what Madison just said, though, brought me here. One thing that I noticed is that every time I ever came to a place of like rock bottom or burnout or whatever it was, it's a catalyst for change. So if we look at life instead of through the lens of good and bad, and instead through the lens of just that it is, like this is just is. So it's like, okay, this is what it is. And then you say, oh, it brought me here, or, you know, it led me to my purpose, or, you know, then because of that I moved, or whatever the thing, the catalyst was the difficulty, but it led you to where you needed to be, right? So then that's the blessing of it. So you couldn't really think of it as like a bad thing, right? It's just more like it is what it is. It's almost like if you're driving your car and then all of a sudden there's a roadblock. Instead of being like, oh my God, this is horrible, it's like, okay, this roadblock, I have to go around it, where am I going to go? And then it's like guiding you to the next street that's going to be a better path for you for that trip. So it's kind of like that in life, right? Like, I remember when I was a little kid, I used to read these books called Choose Your Own Adventure. And it was so cool because in the book, you would, let's say, like, start out and you're going on a journey to Peru. And then all of a sudden, like, page 11, it's like, okay, now you have a choice. Do you want to stay in Peru or do you want to go to Ecuador? You know, and then you choose. And then you go, okay, Ecuador next. And then, like, so each time it's just, like, taking you through these, like, pathways. None of them are better or worse. They're all just awesome. What I used to do is I would always go back and see which, you know, read all of them and see what each one was like, because it wasn't about choosing the perfect path or like having the perfect path, but it was just about experiencing all of it. And I really believe that that's what life is about. It's really about experiencing all of it and then refining your wisdom from that journey and then sharing that. And on a soul level, we actually, according to the spiritual science, which is called the Michael's teachings, they say like on a soul level, as the soul grows older, so we call it like old soul, is somebody who's like been around a long time. As your soul grows older, grows more developed, grows more wise, the final lifetimes, like let's say you've already been 100 lifetimes coming back into a human body, and then the last couple lifetimes before you're like complete with this reincarnation process, that you would generally gravitate to become a teacher. And the reason is because over these many lifetimes you've accumulated all this wisdom, and the wisdom is now your dharma, or like your purpose of life, is to give back and share that wisdom and help others who are earlier in their journey, to help them through the journey of this experience, which is called life on earth as a human. Let's see, Madison said, that certainly resonates. I've always been called an old soul. Yeah, Madison, you know, and you're so young, and that's what I always say, like when we have these young wise souls like that come to the programs that I teach, I'm like, I never think of age, because age is a number, right? So it's like there is something to age, right? So like I know being 41, I'm wiser than when I was 21. But at the same time, if you're an old soul, you're an old soul from birth. You probably had people telling you at age 7, you know, who here had people telling you you were an old soul? Or if no one told you that, who here knows you're an old soul? Leave a comment, let us know. I feel like we're all old souls. Anybody who's attracted to Flow State Institute and wants to be a teacher and a healer of the world, you're probably an old soul. But I will say, I have had people that were like not super old souls come to my programs. And so sometimes they're just attracted to different aspects. It depends, like the travel or like different things. Let's see. Katie says, definitely an old soul over here. Oh, good. Yeah, I think that everybody, I'm imagining that a lot of our tribe is old souls. It tends to be that you would attract to others that are like similar, right? Or that are kind of like in the same soul category, or at least maybe like if you're attracted to, let's say, Muji or like Sadhguru or something, these guys are super old souls, right? So you could be attracted to them. They may not be the same age of a soul, like they're a little older in the soul evolution, but attracted to them. Whereas somebody who is watching like UFC a lot, they're probably not like also tuning into Sadhguru's wisdom, right? So it's like, what are you attracted to is usually a good indication of the evolution of your soul and where you are in that process. Let's see. Jamie says, always definitely know I'm an elder soul on the earth plane. It came through so much during shamanic journeys. Oh, amazing. Let's see, Valerie, yes, I feel like an old soul at Madison. Me too, Jamie. I've been unpacking a lot of it recently during ceremonial journeys. It has been very wild. Oh, amazing. The more I opened up to shamanism, the more it all fell into place in recognition, in clarity, and in immersion. Oh, beautiful. Flor says, old soul here. Yay. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I know my sister is here, Joe PL, and like, even when we were kids, like, Joe was one of the first persons that I did a psychedelics with. She was always like doing the facilitating there. She was like, hey, I mean, she'd be like young, and then I was like 5 years younger, but we would be like, yeah, let's do this, you know. So like, also within families it can be like that, you know, because I know in my sister group we have 4 sisters that were born in the same family, and then one of them's not really an old soul much, you know, but the other 3 are. So it's interesting because you can have that in your family where you're like, huh, what happened there? And it's not like that what happened there, like, it's not a bad thing. I always think that it's such a blessing, the one sister that is not like the super old soul in our family, because she teaches me a lot about the rest of the world. Like, there's a lot of people that are more on her level of the soul evolution, where she's like, I'm not into chakras, and, you know, she'll say things like that, which is funny because my whole life is like around the stuff, and she's like, I don't believe in it. But it's fun because it's like, okay, so it gives me a glimpse into the mentality of like a whole group of people that I might not have understood existed if it wouldn't have been for like this person in the family, right? So you can look at your family like that, in that blessing kind of way. You're like, okay, I could see what part of humanity this family member is representing. Let's see. Jamie says, aren't they amazing, Madison? Yes, I love that, Jamie. I would love to connect. Yeah, you guys should connect. Yeah, my half-sister is definitely an old soul, but my full sister is definitely not. That's a great point. Yeah, it's important to see that. So, like, because a lot of times they say your family is your greatest teachers, or you could also say, you know, they are meant to trigger you, to heal you. You know, so often we think our family should just be like complete unconditional love and support. Very rarely does that happen. In fact, I know a few people that have a family like that. And one of the friends that I have that had that kind of mother, that like, I'm here for you, let me help you, she would reject it, which is it was like bizarre to me, because that was like the only thing I ever wanted. And for her, she had it and she didn't want it. And so often it's like everyone has their journey, right? So it's like whatever you have, you always want the other thing. So the process of life is literally like appreciating what you have, even if it's a horrible thing. Like, it's like, thank you, I'm glad for this because it's making me stronger, right? And then the friend that's like, I got this amazing mother, and then she calls her smother because she always is like, what can I do for you? What can I give to you? Even at age 39, she's like doing that to her. Her mother's like 70 something, and she's full-grown adult, and she's just like always pouring love and support onto her, and she would just like reject it. And I was like, I can't even imagine. But so you always kind of like, you'll see that a lot of times with people. So if you're working with people in the yoga capacity, it's important to see all this because a lot of our deepest wounds are coming from our family, coming from this disconnect from just being in appreciation for what we do have, even if it's difficult. And if we can find a way to just surrender and totally like trust that what we've been, the hand that we've been dealt is a blessing and it's perfect and it's exactly what we need, and feeling appreciation and gratitude for that, that's what opens the portal of miracles for all the other things that you're dreaming of to come through. And one of the things that I was really coming through for me recently, that I keep seeing everywhere, the same confirmation, the same message, which is this concept that if you have a dream in your heart or your mind, it is meant for you. Because I used to always think, like, let's say it didn't manifest. Because sometimes I had a dream for like over a decade and it didn't happen. And I was like, why? And then I was like, well, maybe it's not meant for me. Like, for example, a good example, I always use my example of Mia Moore. But Mia Moore is a good example because I wanted a little puppy for like at least 10 years. If not more, but I always couldn't because I was traveling so much for my work. I was traveling and teaching, and I felt really fulfilled that it was fulfilling my life purpose, but I wanted this little puppy. But I was like, okay, one day. And I had this one day syndrome, which is what I call it, when you kind of like, you put your dreams into the future and then you just never manifest them because it's always like then and not now. But anyway, so after COVID and I moved back to Miami, and I was like, now is the time. And I got her and she showed up, and it was like literally the perfect puppy at the perfect moment, and I was finally ready. And when I look back, I realized I wouldn't have been ready if it would have been even a moment sooner, because like she was a lot of work and a huge responsibility, and if I would have had her at any other time, I probably would have given her away. Like, she's so much work. But like the love and the readiness took time to ripen. And I think about that, especially one of my ex-boyfriends, Alon, he used to always talk about that, like being ripe, like that we're fruit, right? We're kind of like, imagine that you're a fruit, like maybe you're a peach or a mango, papaya, one of those fruits that like when it's ripe, right? Like a papaya, when that's ripe. You feel it, it's juicy, it's soft, you touch it, you're like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a good one. Or like mango, right? But when it's not ripe, you squeeze it and it's hard. You can knock on that and it's like your head. You're like, okay, don't eat it. Don't even try to cut that open yet. It's just gonna be bitter, right? So that's the same as people. So we evolve similar to like fruit. Like, we need to ripen into being ready for what it is that we are calling in, or what we desire, or what our dream is. And it's really more about being ripe and ready. And like, literally, what the cool thing about fruit, for example, is that when it's ripe and ready, it falls off the tree. You don't even need to pick it. Like, it's just like ready, whereas like if you try to pick a unripe fruit, you're pulling, you take the whole branch off. Like, you will kill the tree trying to get that thing to be ready when it's not. So it's similar to people, right? When you think you want something but it's not manifesting, it's literally only and always because you're not ready. It's not because you don't deserve it. It's not because you're not worthy of it. It's not because it's not meant for you. That's my belief. Now, everybody might have a different feeling. They'd be like, whatever metaphysical kind of like explanation of that. But this is the way I've come to see life, because every time when I finally was ready, it was like there. It was literally coming to me. I didn't even look for it. I'll give you an example. Now, this is a good segue into sharing about, I think it was last week or the week before, remember when we wrote our goals, and it was like your 30-60 day plan to finish 2022 strong? Who here remembers that, and who here did that? Post a comment, let me know. Did you write your list? Did you make your plan? Did you do our homework that I gave you? I don't see any comments, so I'm imagining some people didn't. Let's see. Jamie says, my list is in my fairy journal. Okay, good. Flora says, my family doesn't realize they're my biggest teachers. Oh, they don't realize, huh? Okay, so only Jamie wrote hers? Come on, guys. Sadly, I missed that. Oh, Madison. Okay, you got to go back and watch that replay. Sounds like a good one. Yeah, go do it. So you still have time. You didn't miss it. It might have been last week or the week before. You just got to go on my YouTube channel. Most of the replays are always on the YouTube channel under the lives, and then I also put them in the app when I can. Anyway, so the point is this. We have a 30-60 day plan to the end of 2022, and I'm here to be your accountability partner. I want to see you win. I want to see you succeed. And one thing that I know as being a coach is that you can set yourself up to succeed, or you can just coast the last part of the year and then be like, all right, January 1, and start setting yourself up then. But the reason that a lot of times things don't manifest for people is because they don't start even planning for success until the start of the year. Therefore, it's going to take a few months to get some traction, especially if you took a lot of time off. And so it's not a bad thing. It's a good life. But like, if you really want to set yourself up to win and to reach some big goals for 2023, then now is a good time to start. And it doesn't mean you need to like work yourself to death or like do something huge. I'm just talking about putting the idea down on paper, like whatever it is, and then also like making a little bit of a plan around that. Let's see. Katie says, I did my list, highlighted exactly what I've been putting off. Good. That's important to see. Jamie, it was the week before. It was very good. Oh, good. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. It was on the eclipse, actually. And this coming eclipse is on Tuesday. So we're going to be doing another event or another thing around the eclipse. We'll do a little bit today, but I'll do something on Tuesday for us as well, because the eclipse portal is coming to an end. And actually, it's a nice time to reflect. Post a comment if you are into journaling, if you've been journaling, and if you are reflecting on what you've experienced during this last 2 weeks. Because the eclipse portal is a time where a lot of things end and a lot of things begin. A lot of doors close and new doors start to open. A lot of clarity can come into your life, and it's a beautiful blessing if you don't resist the experience. When we resist and judge it and sort of fight against the current, that's when we suffer. But if we allow the universe to just be as it is and to reveal for us what we need to see and trust that it's in divine order, it's actually quite beautiful to be the witness, to observe, to come from a place of sort of outside of ourselves to see, this is what the universe and my soul wants for me for this next chapter. And you know, the way that the eclipse portals work, it's like every 6 months. So life kind of is unfolding in these 6-month cycles, right? So like until the next eclipse portal, which will be next summer, you know, whatever it is that was reorganizing itself in your life during this portal is going to be the theme of this next 6 months. And then once again, we'll have another eclipse and we'll have more things that are getting more clear, clearing out old stuff, making more things more prominently positioned for us to focus on. That's kind of like how the universe and our soul co-creates, collaborates, and works together in order to help us to evolve in the direction to the fulfillment of our life purpose. Isn't that exciting? I think it's so beautiful. Let's see. I got some more comments. Madison says, these weeks have been nuts. Katie, for me too. I like to journal, but the last couple of weeks I've been on retreat. I come back to running a free program for an online social platform, and since subscription numbers to my own website have gone nuts. Oh, great. That's a good thing. I'm so happy to hear that, Katie. I think. Gone nuts sounds good, but I don't know. Congratulations. And also, we had somebody in our app this week said they were leading a retreat. I love to hear you guys doing things like this. This is exciting because this is what it's all about. Like, I love you moving in the direction of the fulfillment of your purpose and to doing it in the direction and in the way that feels the most aligned and joyous. And if your website going nuts is a positive thing, then I'm all about it. And if you're leading a retreat, even if it's just like a little retreat, it's still a huge step in the direction of the fulfillment of that beautiful dream. So congratulations for everybody who's doing that, and I'm proud of you. Let's see. Anyway, so basically what I was saying is, in that last one, 2 weeks ago, we talked about how to set yourself up to win. Now, I just want to speak to that because you might remember at that time I started the 22 Days to Abundance, Flow, and Miracles cleanse, which produced incredible miracles. And I want to share some of those for you so that you can see what is possible when you really just get clear. So what happened to me was, I was like, what I want to do, when I wrote my list of 10 things that I want to manifest, remember that was our main one that we did last week. It was like 10 things that you want to manifest, and then narrowing it down to one, that if you just had that one thing happen for you, all the rest would flow better, right? So it's kind of like a way to be more clear on how to prioritize what to focus on. So anyway, for me it became obvious that if I set myself up with the right team properly, I have a good team, but I had like 10 more people that I needed on my team in order to really make things flow properly the way I want it to flow. So anyway, I was like, okay, that's the priority. Even though like, okay, manifest my husband and all these other beautiful things were like on the list, but I was like, okay, this is first, because with this, it will free up my time and it will free up energy, and it would bring just like so many positives that it would support the fulfillment of the other 9 that were on the list. So that's the way to really look at it, right? Okay, now I'll just tell you. So what happened was, I didn't even go looking. Literally, the universe started to deliver these things to me that I was looking for. Like, they came to me. It was like so interesting. I'll give you an example. I was looking for, I've been wanting to have somebody that's a better like customer support for you all, actually, that like you can call and ask questions even, and things like that. And also for people who haven't enrolled yet, when they have questions, and like this whole kind of like one little element of all the things is like somebody that's really strong at customer support. So anyway, and then I ended up getting this company reached out to me like the next day and was like, hey, we offer this like phone support thing. And I was like, oh my God, it turned out exactly what I was looking for. And then even cooler, which was they showed me how I can get my own toll-free number for the Flow State Institute. So I wanted, like, you know, you can't really get a 1-800 number anymore because those are all gone, but you can get like 888 or 833 or whatever. So they showed me how I can get my 800 number, or my toll-free number, and we ended up getting 888 Flow State. So we got 4 8s with the word Flow State, and that's our phone number. So I was like, that's so cool. And we're gonna have people that will be on the other side of the phone helping us do everything. So that's just like one small example, but it was like 10 things that I was calling in that came to me. I mean, I wasn't even like Google searching. It was just like they texted me, or they would email me, or somehow find me on Instagram, and all of a sudden it's like, that was exactly what I was looking for. Now, you know, sometimes you go on your Gmail and that happens and you're like, I think Google can read minds. Literally. Like, I didn't even send an email about this, and then literally like somebody's like emailing me. So they might be able to read minds, which is weird. But anyway, in this case, it was a benefit. In other cases, it feels like an invasion of privacy. So we gotta like kind of take the good with the bad with that. But anyway, who here had anything like that happen for you? I would love to hear the fulfillment of your manifestations. If you want to share, feel free. You can unmute yourself and or post it in the comments. I love to hear these things. To me, it's like kind of the highlight of this whole business, I guess you could call it, because it's something so beautiful to hear you guys fulfilling your dreams. That is what's exciting to me. You know, in the end of the day, after 17 years, it's awesome to just, you know, keep doing whatever you do, but like it really ends up, and it might sound cliche, but everyone always says the same thing. Like, what's really fulfilling in the end is like the service to others. Like, if I could see you guys like fulfilling your dreams, that's way more exciting even than me fulfilling my dreams. I feel like I fulfilled so many of my dreams. Now I'm like, okay, I'm always creating more dreams, right? So like the dreaming process should never end, because I think that that's really one of the beautiful things about being a human. Like, you have creative ideas. There are things that you would like to experience in this life. I've met people who were like, yeah, like, I don't even think there's any places I still want to go. And I was like, wow, like, I'm not that way. There are still places I want to go. I'm not craving it because I've been to so many places. I've traveled the whole world many, many, many times around. But I still have places that I dream of going, right? I've never been on an African safari, for example. There are things. But anyway, ultimately, once you get to a certain point where you've done all these like things, then it becomes like not the priority, right? I'm not like, I have to go to the African safari. Whereas there was a time when like my soul would be like, you need to go to Egypt, and I would go, and I'd be like, wow, I needed that. Same thing with Bali. Like, I've been going there for 12 years, so it's not so much like I need to go to Bali. Now it's like, it's a part of my routine. It's a part of my life. It's like, I love Bali. I always go there. I love leading these training retreats, and I'm really looking forward to those of you who are going to be coming to be able to share it with you, because it's such a remarkable healing and transformational vortex on Earth. Actually, Michelle, who's a part of our team, she's going to be with us, and she's going to go early in mid-December. So anybody who's thinking of going early, she's going mid-December. She's going to stay like 6 weeks or 2 months. And also, I have another goddess in our group that's going to go for that long. So there's a couple people that are doing that kind of level of Bali journey. And one of the things we've been doing in the app is like connecting each other, so that for those who are thinking of going 6 weeks or 2 months, they will pair up perhaps. And then others who are going to go for maybe just like 3 weeks or so, a little bit longer than our retreat training, then pair up. And I finished the list of the Bali recommendations, and we just have to finish putting it into the PDF, and then we're going to be able to share that with you all. So I'm super excited about that. I came up with over 65, I think 66 maybe, of my top recommendations, and so I'm excited to share those with you. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions? We're getting kind of to the end of the hour, and I want to make sure we always go over usually, so but anyway, if anybody has to leave at the hour, I want to make sure that you can ask any questions that you feel you want to. And also, that's one of the purposes of this live, not just for me to talk. So let's see, anybody have any questions? Please feel free to unmute yourself and or post them in the chat. I love to hear them. Let's see, where did my Let's see. Jean says, trust in the universe, plan for the highest good. Hey, I love that. Hi, Leanne. Let's see. Malik. Okay, fine. Everything right what you're saying, but can you show me your outfit? You're funny. One of the things that I've loved about Bali is like shopping, which sounds so maybe like shallow or something, but actually it's some of the best shopping in the world. Like, I always get these tops, like this one I got there. So this is like one of their custom specialties, is like these sort of like crochet things. So, and then also like these earrings, like the flower of life. That one's very popular there. But yeah, crochet. So I have like half of my clothes are made out of this like crochet, but it's so beautiful, and yeah, it just feels like an island vibe, which I like. I live in Florida, so it feels appropriate. So I always tell people who are coming to Bali, bring at least half an empty suitcase, because you're going to want to come home with some new things and gifts for other people. I remember the first couple years when I came back from Bali, I had so many gifts for everybody. I mean, you're going to really, really enjoy. That's one of the things that I love to share with people, is how fun it is to shop there. And it's not super expensive. I mean, the things that are like silk and hand painted, they're pricier, but like this kind of top, I think you could get for like $7. So you can get a lot of beautiful things for like a good price. Whereas if it was in America, depending on the store, you might, if it was in a very high-end boutique, which you might find this somewhere in like high-end places, might be like $50. Then I always encourage people, if you want, start a business around imports. I'm always trying to encourage people to come up with like business ideas, because one of the things that I think most people struggle with the most is like finances, in the world. There are a few people that are like never struggling with money, but then the rest of the world would like to make more money. So I always come up with ideas, and so if you guys ever like any of them, feel free to run with them. But yeah, importing from Bali is a smart idea. I did that. I remember a couple years I got all these malas made, and then I would sell those, and I might do that again, but it's just kind of like so much going on, it's hard to keep up with it all. But these are ideas, planting seeds for you, so that when you go, obviously we're going to be doing the yoga teacher training, the immersion. Super excited about that. And also I wanted to mention, because I know Joe PL and Stacy are going to go, and they're arriving just like one day early, but I'm going to arrange with the resort for anybody who's getting there early like that, if you want, for you to be able to do like a spa day, whatever, like kind of to be able to get a massage, maybe a facial, get your hair done, things like that, so you can start integrating into the vibe and start their training retreat with like the best energy, fully rejuvenated. Let's see, Jean says, Miami was my first vacation in over 35 years, and it was wonderful. Aw, meeting you is a treasure, such a beautiful soul. Thank you, Jean. So nice to meet you as well, and thank you so much for your beautiful, beautiful gift. That meant so much to me. I loved it. Leanne says, saw your Instagram was at the conference you were at. Was it about business? Yeah, it was a business conference. It was about, I was talking about this earlier. It was teaching about how to speak, like be a better public speaker, like speaking on stages particularly. So I've always been pretty good at that, but I'm always interested in growing. So I went to this to take my speaking skills to the next level. Super excited about that. Let's see. I have some comments over here. Flora says, could you talk a little bit about this full moon and the eclipse coming up, and anything we should know to make the most of it? Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so the eclipse coming up, it's funny, like if you felt any kind of intensity around the energy of the new moon eclipse, which was the one that was 2 weeks ago, they're saying that was like a more gentle one, and then this one on Tuesday is supposed to be the more intense one, right? Like the stronger energy. And then, so basically it depends. Like it's in the sign, or the house is Scorpio and Taurus. So if you have a lot of energy in Scorpio or Taurus, it'll be more intense, but everyone will feel it. What I tend to feel during eclipses is an intense emotion. And then if there's anything out of alignment in your life, the universe will usually like remove it for you. So it can feel like abrupt, or maybe it won't feel abrupt, but it can feel like a big shift. So what I usually do on the eclipse, cleansing and fasting is my go-to, because the less you have frequencies that are like not supporting the highest vibration, then the more flow you will feel through the eclipse. But the other thing is meditate, breath. We're going to do a ceremony on the eclipse. I'll do it, probably go live on my Facebook, on the Cure Joy Facebook as well. But basically just connecting with the highest frequency you can, meditating, and I would stay home. Like a lot of people want to go out and do events. Like I don't really like doing anything during the eclipse. You never know what's going to happen. Like you could get in a car accident. Like for example, on this eclipse, my car broke. I had to take it to get fixed. So like crazy stuff happens that you just don't expect. And so I usually like to just stay in my own energy and meditate and do everything possible just to keep my energy in the best vibration. That's what I do. So what to expect? It's going to be different for everybody. But depending if you have a lot of planets in Scorpio or Taurus, that will influence it a lot, but everyone will feel it in some way. Let's see. Jamie says, when you first started out as a yoga teacher, did you do lots of volunteering, and did you know what to charge for your price from the beginning? Hey, that's a good question. Well, I'll tell you. When I started as a yoga teacher, I didn't intend to be a yoga teacher. So when I started as a yoga teacher, I was doing a lot of bartering, which is also known as like trade. So for example, I had a client that was a esthetician, and she was doing facials for me every week, and I would teach her yoga. So I would do these trades, and I would also, one of the things that I teach is the Thai yoga massage. So I would do yoga and Thai massage, and they would give me services. So I would do trades like that. So that was like teaching for free, I guess, or volunteer in a way. And other people, like a massage therapist, I would do trades with her. A woman who did my websites, I did exchanges. So that's one way that you can volunteer, but like do it without money exchange, but like practicing your teaching in the beginning. Practicing as much as you can is the key. Now, the other thing that I would do is I was always very savvy with business, so I wasn't the type that was like, I'm going to teach a free class at the park, because I needed to make a business out of this, because I had quit my job and I was already a fitness trainer. So I just saw it as another form of fitness training in the beginning, and I would just charge like what the fitness trainers were charging. So when I started out, I was 24, and I was charging $60 an hour. So I felt like that seemed appropriate for the beginning, and I think it is a good amount for the beginning. I know people who charge $20, $30 an hour. I would never do that. Although teaching at the studios, a lot of times they only want to pay you like $20, $30 an hour. I did do some of those classes, because when I was getting paid only $25 an hour, but I was in front of 40 people every week, and some of them would become clients, and a lot of them would give me good feedback, and it was a way for me to practice my teaching as well, to get better as a teacher. So teaching at studios, even if they pay low, can be beneficial if you have a large group, because it can lead to more private clients. But really the key to me was the free volunteer work was my videos. So I launched my YouTube channel in 2006. So it was literally just 1 year after I became a teacher. And I started creating videos online for free. So it's like a form of volunteer, right? And if you think about it, social media is like a volunteering in itself. So basically you make a video, which is like teaching a class, and then you share it for free on this social media platform, and you say, this is my gift to the world. And that's a really good way to teach for free, because it can live on forever, and it can generate exposure for you beyond that initial time investment, and it can bring you future business and future clients. And if you get really good at it, you can build a whole audience like that, and you can make a whole business just around teaching online, which is something that's really, really rewarding, because there's a lot of flexibility and freedom with that. So that's what I did in the beginning. And like I said, when it came to charging, because your other question was charging, I would charge similar to what fitness trainers were charging in my area. So especially for private clients, and also like if I was doing retreats or workshops, just kind of see what other people are charging. But if you're new and they're teaching 20 years, you don't want to try to charge the same as them. Like, for example, if someone's teaching one-on-one and they're charging $200 an hour, but they've been teaching for 20 years, you're not going to start out with $200 an hour. You could start with 60. I think that's a good start, 60, 70, depending on your comfort level, your confidence, and how actually like skillful you are. You don't want to start right out like you're a novice and you're charging like these high prices, because you're not going to get any repeat business, because people will be like, it was like $150 and she didn't even know what she was doing. Then you're going to get bad reviews. That's not what you want. You want people that are like raving fans. And what I noticed is, when you teach people and you bring light into their life and you listen to them and you really care what they're going through, because most yoga clients, especially one-on-one, they are not just looking to stretch their hamstrings, right? They're looking for a coach. They're looking for guidance and healing. They're looking for a healer, a teacher, and a coach all in one, and a friend. And if you set it up properly, you can be really intelligent about that, because you can do like a couple times a week, like do a whole package, maybe like 10 sessions, or do a monthly option where they're doing a couple times a week. So you build consistency in your, both in your business, but also for them to get results. So these are all in the business training. But anyway, you'll definitely, if you do the Master Business Academy, which is included in the Flow State Teacher Training, you will learn all of that and so much more. Joe PL says, can we have a fillable checklist in the app, like the completed button? Checklist. A checklist for the modules, like the online program? Is that what you mean? Checklist in the app. A completed button. If you can be more specific, I would like to know if that answered your question. Because if so, I want to make it happen for you if we can. Madison, so much intensity at the new moon. Oh God. Jamie says, Star Walk, lunar eclipse. Okay, so she shared a link. That's what I usually do. You can also Google and see what all these different astrologers have to say about it. But they always kind of say the same thing. It's like, okay, it's going to be intense. This is a time for like endings and beginnings. All eclipses are the same. So no matter if it's like in Gemini or in Taurus or any of that, it's basically kind of like always the same. Now the only difference is that for somebody who's evolved and transcends like the duality construct of this whole concept of astrology, you can operate outside of the energy of this and be the observer of the energy. You can see how it's affecting other people and not be caught up in the storm of it, and just be like, that's why I said don't go out, just meditate, just like observe. Mastery is not some kind of pie in the sky idea. It's literally like choosing to be the observer instead of be in the storm, right? And so that's why I encourage, like on the new moon, full moon, eclipses, meditate and utilize the extra potent energy to go deeper within yourself and within that journey inward, to be able to be the witness of what's arising and to release it just with loving awareness, instead of having to release it with like a big, like up in flames kind of, catastrophe. It's like, I release that with loving awareness. I can see that no longer serves me, that person, that pattern, that circumstance, that job, that home, that whatever. Like I just release it and rise into a new level of what I'm ready for. Because if you release something with that level of awareness, it's a joy. Because you're like, thank God I released that, because that wasn't healthy for me. That was damaging for me. And now I'm rising into a new level of my power. I'm taking my power back. I'm reclaiming my divine essence and stepping into a new version of myself. And so that whole experience of observing that, choosing that, breathing through that, and then rising to the next level, that's mastery, right? Instead of like having to go out into the world and let someone show you by like them being aggressive to you, and then you get in a fight or this or that, or somebody hits your car, like, that's how the world shows you more in the physical sense. But we can always transmute things just internally. So that's the path of flow state yoga, and that's also the path of, that's why I call it mastery. The path of being a master in any path of all the spiritual traditions is to be able to be the witness consciousness and not be caught up in whatever drama and whatever emotional turbulence could be presenting itself for us. Let's see, Madison says, I know Mars retrograde is in Gemini too, and I am a Gemini, still trying to understand that. Yeah, so Mars is, I actually have Mars and Mercury in Gemini. Mars is the energy of the sort of the leader, because it's also the first house of the chart is in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So it's like initiator, leader, alpha, fire, the warrior energy. So there's a lot of power to that. So when it's in retrograde, what it does is it's like more in review. It's looking at how your energy around that is, and if you're fully embodied, then you're going to feel at home. If you're not fully embodied, you're going to feel you need some growing to do. You're going to feel it's time to step it up. So then during that retrograde process, you'll be going back and reclaiming your power as a leader, as a divine warrior for the light. Right? So that's what it does. Retrograde just gives you like a review. So you look at it and it slows it down so you can see it better. Jamie, it will show the time for California as well. Oh, cool. Madison, I've been feeling called to cleanse and fast. I've been eating tons of candy from Halloween. Yeah, do the cleanse. I actually, so I was going to do 22 days. I took 3 days off because I was like, okay, I did 2 weeks. Of the 2 weeks, 3 days I did dry fasting. So I feel really, really good, and I have 1 week left. So I'm going to do, starting today, I already started, just liquids again for 1 more week. This is a master path. I don't encourage anyone to just hop right on with me for the 22 days of liquids, but I've been building up to this for 41 years, so I feel good with it. For everybody else, do like 3 days, just like smoothies only and lots of water, and you're going to feel amazing. That's what I encourage. Jamie, thank you, Dashama. Amazing help. Honestly, oh, I love you. Madison, did YouTube and Instagram and things like that start sponsoring and paying you for your videos? Yeah, I've always had sponsors and stuff. Even like 15 years ago, I had sponsors on my YouTube. Nowadays, I haven't been doing it as much because it's just like an extra bunch of more stuff to do. But I'm actually like, that's part of what I've been setting up is like, I got another, for example, another manifestation that I attracted was a company that's going to repurpose my content across all the platforms. So they're taking videos from my YouTube, editing 1 minute vertical versions, and then putting them out across the other platforms. And so once we get that system flowing, it's going to be very, very beneficial. And then I can start, and then I have another guy that I hired that is, that he's going to be filming with me. We filmed 10 new videos. So we're going to do like filming various new content to put out across everything. So it's like a whole bunch of things. Like in the past, I used to be like doing it all myself, and it was what I did because I had to, but at the same time, it burned me out. So for everybody here, I encourage you, and also when we do put out the Master Business Academy, like live training version, the like upgrade, if you do feel called to go deeper into the business side, what I'm going to be teaching now is how to leverage yourself from the beginning, because that's the part that I sucked at. Like I was always doing everything myself for like 15 years, and it was burning me out, and I would get sick of stuff and I would just want to quit. And now I'm like setting myself up to win in a better way, where it's like I have all these support. I have like a team of like 15 people and companies and everything doing all this stuff. We're getting it all set up. It's going to be all ready to go by the end of this month. Super excited about that. But anyway, once I get this all set up, I'm going to be creating 3 new courses. One of them is going to be for healing burnout, because that, like I said, that's like a huge thing on the planet right now. If anybody feels called to work with burnout and help people with that, that's something that you could work with me as well more on. The other one is going to be, I'm trying to think, more about the business stuff. We're going to launch something to help everybody more with the business. And what was the other one? Oh, the other one's a mindfulness course for this big platform that I work with. They have like 25 million students in the UK, and they're and we're going to be doing a course on mindfulness together. And then, by the way, I actually looked into, I had a meeting with a company that can franchise the Flow State Institute. So we're going to actually next year franchise the Flow State Institute. And I found out, he's going to get back to me, but he said that they can likely provide financing for people who would like to also include in the franchising building a retreat center. Because I was like, that would be the coolest thing ever, right? Like if you want to have your own retreat center and just do a whole business around that with Flow State teachings. And because a lot of people have wanted that, and also some people have their own studios and stuff. But anyway, there's different ways that you could take this teaching and bring it out there, right? You can be a coach, you can be online, you can go into corporations, you could do one-on-one, you can do workshops and retreats, right? There's all of that. And then there's the other side of it where you can make it into like a really big business where you own a retreat center and you own a studio. So I've had a lot of graduates go on to own studios, which I think is a really smart idea. But at the same time, for me, I've always been more attracted to like the retreat energy, where it's like I live in paradise and people come to me. I like that vibe. So if anybody feels called to that, that's why we're going to be building that into the business model for the franchising. And it was so cool when I talked to the guy and he said that his company who sets up the franchising can also provide potentially, like I said, financing for the people who want to do that. Madison said, that is my goal, to make all of this accessible to all, and also for that freedom and flexibility, since I'm likely going to be a full-time elementary school teacher. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, so because everybody has their own sort of way that your life is organized that works best for you and that fits into your dream, that's why we keep it flexible. It's like, yeah, you can do it part-time, you can do it online, you can just have a YouTube channel, you could teach it in your elementary school classes or to the other teachers and faculty. There's so many ways that you could take this wisdom and knowledge and these skills and bring it to whoever you want to. And so our first priority is always just to teach you the skills. And then the second priority is to teach you how to package it in a way that's going to fulfill your dreams and help you to deliver your unique magic to whoever you want to teach to. Jamie, the moon and the sun, our solar system, Earth is within us. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Flora, this Tuesday, a guest will host a sound healing session in my yoga studio. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations, Flora. That's a big, exciting step. I know Flora bought this amazing house, and it has like a yoga studio in the house, and it also has like a lot of land, so it's almost like a retreat center. And we've been talking about how she can leverage that property and even host other people to teach workshops and retreats and events there, and she's already getting the ball rolling, so that's exciting. It's cool, like, you know, like I said, that's why I said everybody has a different thing that's going to work for your lifestyle. And so for her, it just happened to be she amazingly came across this beautiful house, and now she can build a whole business around it. By the way, that's going to be in the advanced business training program that we're going to put out, is kind of like the marketing around how to attract more clients to whatever option that you decide to go with. Madison said, I'm curious how long it took for you to start getting paid and recognized on social media at the start of your teaching career. Well, it's a good question. I actually had a very unique start because, like I said, I think you guys know, but like my first yoga challenges went viral. So they were getting like millions of views in the beginning. Now those videos got more views than I currently get, but it was because back then there wasn't a lot of other people on social media. Actually, there wasn't hardly anybody teaching yoga on YouTube when I started. So because of that, I had a lot of millions of people seeing my videos, so I was getting sponsors right away. But I didn't know how to work with sponsors, so it wasn't like, oh, then I had millions of dollars coming in. It wasn't like that. And also because 2006, people weren't really aware of what it was worth even, right? So it took all these years. Now we're like 16 years later, 17 years later. It took all these years to get to a place where now it's like very organized. What is it worth? What is the value of reaching this amount of people? And when you're an influencer, it can vary. Like I know for myself, you know, let's say it's about what you value your time at, not what they value. So for example, some people be like, hey, will you make a video and I'll give you this product. So for example, there was a company that has these stationary bikes, right? And they're like $700, and they're like, we'll give you the stationary bike and we want you to do a video. So for them, they felt that was a good trade. But I was like, well, I don't need a stationary bike, so I don't really think that's a good trade, because basically it's me working for free because I didn't actually want that. Now, it's not to say I wouldn't like to have it, but it's not something I was like, I really hope that a stationary bike comes into my life. So those exchanges are not really of interest to me. Whereas if it's a product that I love, for example, the one with Dr. Bronner's, I did that for free because they sent me the chocolate. I love their brand, and I just wanted to let everybody know about it. So some things like that, then I wouldn't charge. But then something like, for example, I remember had this company send me a massage gun, right? And so for that, I wouldn't charge less than like $1,000 because I knew it was going to get views. And same thing with like the teeth whitening brands and stuff, like things like that. I'm not like, yeah, I'll do it for free. No, but like if it's something that I love their brand already or something, then I would do an exchange. But generally, I set my prices, but you have to be also realistic on what they're getting. Like if they know they can get 1 million views, then it's worth X. But if they know they're only going to get like 1,000 views, then it's only worth X. So because they're comparing sponsorship rates to what would be the equivalent of doing an ad campaign and whatever the price of that might be. So let's say the ad campaign would be $500. They're willing to pay $500 to get that same amount of reach. So anyway, there's a whole science and a mathematical equation behind it. But the first thing is just you have to build your audience, and that's the key. So if you build an audience, even if it's only a few thousand followers, you can start to get paid advertisers. And some people do it for like $100. Like it's not going to be like millions of dollars every time. Like $100 adds up if you do one of those a day, right? If you had like 5,000 fans and you get like these $100 sponsors and you do one a day, then you're making $3,000 a month. So you could start out doing things like that. I don't do $100 sponsors because like it's just not worth it for me. But like some people, that's how they build it up. And then later, then they go to 200. Then all of a sudden, if they did 30 a month, then you're getting $6,000 a month. And then you build up to 300. And then all of a sudden you're making $9,000 a month. That's if you could do one every day, which is a lot, which is not as common. Joe PL said, let's see. My ultimate goal is to have a wellness center for caregivers, people with burnout, especially focused on healing chronic pain. I'm starting with myself and see yoga as a way to improve the quality of life as I age. I love that, Joe, and I think that that is so smart because it's something that, first of all, is in demand, like needed. This is how you know if you have a good business idea. I've been a business girl my whole life. I have my rising sign is in Capricorn. That's why naturally I'm just so good at business, or like drawn to being in business, because it's just who I am. So the thing with it is, though, I've been talking to my sister is Joe PL. I've been talking to her for so long about this because I really believe it's going to be a huge hit. It's going to be a success. I even found all these amazing properties. Well, it depends if you want to be in the Bay Area, but in the Bay Area and also in Marin, in the wine country, amazing properties. And because Joe PL has 25 years experience as a nurse, she would easily get financing to purchase a multi-million-dollar property. I guarantee it. You know why I guarantee that is because I've been in business and I know what people will do. The point is that because it's almost like a sure bet, because it's a very in-demand business idea, right? She wants to help the burnout crisis. Already, there's a huge audience of people needing what she wants to offer. Secondly, helping people with chronic pain. Once again, a huge audience. Thirdly, now these are people who generally, if they're burned out and with chronic pain, not always, but generally, they do have money, because those are the people that are burned out with chronic pain is because they've been working themselves to death. So they generally have money, which is good, and or insurance that could pay for it if she got aligned with the insurance paying thing. And so it's like a really doable, feasible, awesome business idea that she should definitely do. And sooner than later, because the world needs you, Joe. And you could start even now, but like definitely, after Bali, once you've gotten some of the yoga training, because that's just like an additional amazing thing that you can offer within the other things that you can include, that would be just like a really, really amazing healing center for people that need you to heal them. So, and the other thing that I talked to Joe about for this idea is that if you wanted to have a healing center, like a retreat center of your own, like in the beginning, you don't have to purchase it. You could just rent one. So that's like an easier cost of entry to start. You could start it for like much more affordable instead of buying it. Or you could talk to one that was for rent and see if they would do a lease option where you lease it for a year and then you could potentially purchase it in a year, something like that. But the other thing is that besides for like the property and everything, is that she could find people to work for her. And this is what I've been talking about, because it's like the leverage concept is such a key component to long-term wealth building, success, flow, financial flow, energy flow, is that you're not tied to your business so much that it won't operate without you. You have to be able to plug into the vision other people working for you. So the nice thing about Joe's idea, where she can do the wellness healing center, is that she can hire other nurses, other yoga teachers, other healers to come and facilitate. And so in the beginning, she'll have to do the work to set it up, train them, and get it all organized, and also set up the marketing and stuff. But once that's all set up, then she can just go on vacation and it'll still operate, and she can still be making like tens of thousands of dollars a month, and she don't even have to be there. This is the power of leverage. This is the power of building a business. This is the power of using more savviness. Because when I started as a teacher in this field, it was just all about teaching because I love teaching. So I was like, I love teaching. So I wasn't thinking, I want to find someone to teach for me. I was like, I love teaching. So I just wanted to teach as much as I could. So if that's where you're at, then that's also beautiful. It's nothing like good or bad. But if you're looking at it as like a long-term vehicle for retirement and wealth, and like to be able to also have some freedom in terms of to make money even if you don't work, like I know Joe, she's more in her mid-40s. So when you're a little bit older, then it's more like setting yourself up for the long term. And I'm just sharing this for those of you who are like younger or newer, because you can start on either side and it can be successful. You can start right out like Madison was talking about, or some of the other goddesses who are sharing about teaching and being an influencer online. And that's a totally different direction. And then the direction Joe's talking about going, which is like getting a property and having a business and a healing center. Different directions, but very both epic. There's no wrong answer. Let's see. Madison, thank you. This is very helpful. You're welcome. Katie, husband and I have talked about having a house land with enough space to hold conferences and retreats, or rent the space for other things, or even convert a small hotel into a healing retreat center and empty people we know who are struggling. That's a big dream. So this is super interesting. Thank you. Employ. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so happy this is helpful to you. And, you know, one of the things that I love to do during these live sessions is answer all your questions, provide as much value as I can. Like, this is your time, right? I come on here and I have like lifetimes of wisdom and knowledge, but I don't even know half the time like what you need to know. I just get guided to share whatever I feel like sharing. But the Q&A at this last portion of the session is really my favorite, because it's where I can really serve you the most, and I can help hopefully guide you. And as we're in this last stage of 2022 and you're planting those seeds and you're writing in your journal and you're doing your list of the 10 dreams that you're manifesting and narrowing it down to the one that you're going to focus on the most for this last 30, 60 days, you know, hopefully this session has been helpful for you and you can feel inspired or maybe motivated to at least make the list, starting point, and then really use the eclipse energy and the moon and all of the energy of that when you're meditating to really see clearly the dream that you're calling in and feel it. Like all we always talk about is this affirmation of, I'm so happy and grateful it all worked out beyond my wildest dreams. Literally feel that it worked out. Feel that your dreams came true. Know that what you dream is dreaming you. You would not have it in your heart or in your mind if it wasn't meant for you. So whatever's holding you back, whatever is feeling like the resistance to, like, for example, I'm not going to pick on you, Joe Piel, but, you know, I've been talking to Joe about this for over 10 years. And it was the same thing with my sister, Bokhara. Bokhara, she was a school teacher and she wanted to have her own business, but she was really like nervous because she didn't feel comfortable with the marketing side. And so in my business training that I'm going to offer for you guys as a separate program, it's not going to be included in this because we're already doing so much within this, but I'm going to do a separate business training option for anybody who wants to upgrade and do the business mastery live with me in 2023. But I'm going to also include that I will introduce you to these marketing and these different companies that I'm working with, and you'd have to invest into it, but you can hire them and you can build a company that has marketing already doing for you, and it has people building your website and has somebody doing your social media. So you build an actual company instead of doing it all yourself or just not doing it at all. And that's one of the things I wished I could have had in the beginning. Somebody pointing out, here, we got this, this, and this. We did it. It worked. They can do it for you. That's what I wished I would have had 17 years ago. Instead, I struggled, but I had fun. I'm not going to say I didn't have fun along the journey, traveling the world, doing it all myself, but there was several times where I burned myself out from doing it all myself. So now I feel the greatest gift that I can offer for you is to hopefully prevent you from burnout by giving you some hacks, some secrets, and some connections early on so you can formulate your dream and put it together as a beautiful vision and a business that thrives and serves the world, and leveraging your energy in that way so that you can also have some freedom and enjoy your life and have this like amazing balance between, I call it like work-life balance. Like some people say, oh, I love my work, so I don't feel I need work-life balance. And that's a different way of looking at life. I think it's good. I love my work too. I mean, my work is actually quite rejuvenating, but it's like when you're doing all the roles, the marketing, the social media, the website, when you're doing everything, it's not really enjoyable, honestly. So, you got to pick what you do enjoy and outsource the rest. That's what I'll say. Stacy says, do you have recommendations for getting capital to buy or start a retreat center? Well, that's a good question, Stacy. That's what I was just saying. When I talked to this guy the other day, he has a company that franchises. So we were talking about franchising my school. And then he was saying, well, usually franchises have like a physical location. He's like, do you have that? And I said, well, we've always just worked at retreat centers. I was like, but it would be so cool if people who wanted to could do the franchise, and then they could be financed to buy a retreat center, because I've never seen financing for retreat centers, but I thought it was like an interesting loophole to come in from the financing of the franchise, and that they could finance the retreat center. And he said that he would look into it. I didn't get the definitive yes or no yet, but it sounded like it was possible, and especially because the company that he works with is the largest franchising company, and they do the financing internally because they're a huge, huge, huge company. So I was like, well, they definitely could afford it. It's just a matter if they felt to add that as an option. I don't think that they currently have that as an option, because I don't currently know of any other franchise businesses that are specifically like franchising retreat centers. However, I was like, that's the way to go. Like, who wouldn't want their own retreat center? So anyway, that's the only one that I personally have ever heard of. And at the same time, I think if you wanted a retreat center in America, you could probably purchase, or you could get the financing just for the real estate, for example. So let's say, like what I was talking to Joe PL, we found like a beautiful property in wine country, and it was only like a few $1 million. Let's say it was like $2.5–3 million, something like that. And it had like, I don't know, 10 or 20 acres of land, like a big piece of land with a beautiful like property where it had maybe 5–6 bedrooms, and then it had room for building more and stuff. So if you wanted to buy something like that in America, then you would probably get the financing from like a mortgage. So it would be like a home. It would be like financing for a business, second home if you already have a first home mortgage. But that's how they traditionally would do it. So I don't know, but like this idea with the guy with the franchising and the financing for that's something that I'm just looking into, but I thought it would be such an interesting and cool option for people, because that was something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to have my own retreat center, but I never could figure out how to like get the financing. So this is the like little piece that was always missing. And I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted if you're interested in more of how that develops. But on the other side, like I said, if you wanted to just purchase something in America, then you would probably go the traditional route of like a business loan or a mortgage. Does that make sense, Stacy? Hopefully. Anybody else have any other questions before we end our beautiful time together? I'm going to take a deep breath in. Inhale. One more breath. Exhale completely. Just close your eyes and put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and we're just going to connect to your heart, your body, this moment. Absolute gratitude for your life, for all the blessings, for our community, for the gift of tribe, of the internet that connects us to the flow state that unites us, for all of the dreams that you have in your heart and in your mind that you've been calling in, and may they manifest with ease and grace. And whatever needs to be released for this upcoming eclipse, may it be with grace and ease and joy and flow, and that whatever is coming in, that you be open to that, be open to beautiful energy that wants to flow into your reality, and embracing just the divine guidance of your soul as it's always guiding you along your path to your highest fulfillment of your purpose and your destiny. Trusting that, fully surrendered to the knowing that what you seek is seeking you, and all of your dreams in your heart and your mind are dreaming you, and it's all meant for you. So letting go of the desire, which is the resistance, and just embracing the knowing and the wish fulfilled. Your wishes, your dreams, they're already done in a timeline, and now you're just dissolving the barriers so that that timeline can be now instead of in the future. And just knowing that you deserve it, you're worthy of it. Whatever you want, it will be supported infinitely. There is a need for your energy in this world. You are meant to be abundantly provided for and supported as you share your gifts, your beautiful energy with the world, and your light lights up the world in this dark time, helping others through their hard times. You will flourish beyond your wildest dreams, and just know that you are needed in this world right now. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being a part of our community. I love you. I can't wait to see you all in Bali. For those of you who are going to be with us, for those who aren't yet registered, definitely consider coming to Bali. It's going to be January 10th through 20th. And if you have any friends that might want to join us, definitely let them know about it. The more the merrier. And I love you. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Like I said, I want to do a live on, I think it'll be on Facebook, but I'll let you know in the groups and in the app about the live session on the Eclipse Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. And meanwhile, I love you. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.